Welcome to episode 4 of the Creepy Nobody podcast. I'm your creepy nobody Marcos, and I am the slash accident and somehow the winner of a fucking sperm race. So, speaking of accidents, which I'm gonna go into in a bit, this is about filming accidents. I already made a recording before. Luckily, I was the only one who fucking saw the finished recording. All the other links I sent to everybody else, either they forgot it or just I don't know. They just didn't give a shit. Anyways, all that shit aside, decided to do a do-over, which is something that nobody who died on any of these film accidents have aren't gonna do again. All right, I got that dark joke out of the way. So pretty recently, Alec Baldwin killed a award-winning cinematographer Helena Hutchins on the set of a movie that was being filmed called Rust in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And pretty much right off the bat, there was a lot of shit that was going wrong. They were rushing filming. They had a union crew, and then they decided to cut them out after fucking pushing them to their limits, having them work 20-hour days. They promised them hotel accommodations, but they promised that, but yet the crew drove 50 miles to and from the fucking set each day, and pretty much then they were asked to leave the area, otherwise they'll have security escort them out. And then they brought in a non-union crew, and then apparently the armorer on set didn't know what the fuck she was doing. A woman. Okay, I got that joke out of the way. Pretty much, this is an example of like irresponsible bullshit that can happen on a fucking set. I have never directed a fucking movie, but learning about all these filming accidents and learning the behind the scenes on different films. Sorry, I'm starting to have a stroke. I gotta slow down, which is perfect. You gotta slow the fuck down and kind of think over what the fuck you're doing. You can't just run and gun everything. No, no pun intended. Run and gun everything, because that's what they were doing. They were rushing filming, and basically it ended up pushing people to their limits and then causing some fuck ups here and there, and a major fuck up too. Somebody died on set, and so all these details started coming out, especially about the armorer who was on set. Back to her. She said in a podcast that she was afraid to put blanks in a fucking gun, and she also mentioned that she almost didn't take the fucking job. And her father is a very famous armorer on movie sets, and basically he started training her very quickly, which is not something you would hear about somebody who was responsible for handling guns on sets. They don't use real guns, unless you're John Landis on the Twilight Zone, which, yeah, just use real fucking bullets, you fucking psychopath. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not my proper way of saying. Yeah, just use real bullets on set, you fucking retard. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, anyways, so there was a lot of shit going on. When I first made the film accidents recording, there was not that many details coming out. Besides pictures of Alec Baldwin and his family deciding to pack up and get the fuck out of Dodge, which, in my opinion, is pretty fucking stupid, because there has to be there's gonna be a big investigation. They're gonna fucking take their time about it. They have to go through everything, and basically Alec Baldwin is the main piece of the puzzle, because he was fucking there. Obviously, he fucking killed somebody by complete accident. This is getting pretty fucking loud, but all of that shit is slowly coming out. More and more details of it starting to come out. And the only reason why I heard about the accident was because I was on the Wikipedia page. Yeah, fucking surprising, right? About film accidents. And last time I checked, the most recent accident happened in India about this stunt guy fucking being electrocuted on set. Being electrocuted on set, and the main actor is, you know, doesn't want to keep filming because he wants justice for the stunt guy. So, and then just recently I decided to check it out, and then all I see is Rust 2021. Alec Baldwin killed cinematographer Helena Hutchins and injured director Joel Sousa. And I'm just like, wait a minute, what the fuck? So I started googling the incident, and I would be so fucking surprised, and I was, because the fucking articles about the incident were just posted mere hours ago. That's how fucking recent it was. It's fucking crazy. Because, I don't know, just hearing about the other accidents, especially from the Wikipedia page, but also through, like, looking into shit, it's just, you, when you go through a certain category or topic or something you're fucking passionate for, and you go down this fucking rabbit hole, you'll find some crazy fucking shit. And that's what I'm going to talk about right now. I might as well get biggest the biggest one out of the way. I'm going to talk about the Twilight Zone accident. So this happened in 1982. Four directors for four categories in this movie. Pretty much you had Steven Spielberg, you had George Miller, who directed Mad Max, and then you had Joe Dante, and then you had John Landis, which we're going to be focusing on because it happened while filming his segment. Pretty much John Landis' segment is called Time Out. It's about Vic Morrow, who plays a racist, womanizing sack of shit who's going through different timelines of the past, like Nazi Germany, a KKK meeting, fucking Vietnam War, which I don't know if I mentioned already. They used real fucking bullets in one scene. I'm fucking serious. They actually used real life. I mean, of course they got them out of the way. They didn't have somebody right in front of fucking arm, fucking. I'm sorry. I need to slow down a bit at a time. Of course, they didn't have somebody fucking in front of with people with live ammunition. It's fucking, but still, they use live rounds in one shot. Well, no pun intended, one fucking shot of the scene. And then, of course, the other scene in this whole segment was Vic Morrow's character being in a train heading to Auschwitz. You know. That was pretty much all they filmed for that segment. But for some reason, John Landis wanted Vic Morrow's character to have a redemption scene, in a way. So John Landis decided to write a scene for the segment about him being in a Vietnam village rescuing two Vietnamese children from the army blowing up a fucking village. And they used a real Vietnam War helicopter in this scene. And I'm going to go more into details before I talk about what led to this fucking tragedy. So, more details about the incident happened. I learned from a documentary from this. I think the fucking streaming service was called Slasher. I don't know, but they talked about cursed movies, and the Twilight Zone was one episode, and I only took the free trial just to watch that one fucking episode. It was fucking crazy. Besides learning about shit that happened on the Omen movie. But anyways, so they built this village in the Indian Dunes, Magic Mountain, and basically they built this whole village, and the guy who built it was very proud. He was very excited to, finally gain some traction into a hoping for a nice big career, which wasn't the case after this whole incident, and I'll get to it later in a bit. So pretty much it was late at night, like probably like 12 or 3 in the morning. They paid these parents under the table to use these two kids, two separate families. Pretty much she had a boy and a girl, like I forgot their names. And basically they were hidden away by a fire marshal slash social worker on set. They hid the kids away from him because it was illegal to have kids working on film sets that late at night. But apparently John Landis was very adamant about making this fucking scene part of the movie, so they basically did whatever he said goes. So they hid the kids away, and then pretty much fast forward, they call action. And that's where they had multiple camera angles. Basically, Vic Morrow is supposed to carry the two children around his arms across this big fucking lake. And then, no, the village is being blown up. So they set up a bunch of pyrotechnics around the area. And the helicopter was at a dangerously low altitude. And one thing led to another. And this was all filmed. And you can find it on YouTube. All the angles. The pilot of the helicopter basically wanted to get higher away from the explosions, get as far away from the explosions as possible. But John Landis, either through the radio or the megaphone, was telling him, get lower, get over. And moments later, one of the pyrotechnics struck the tail end of the helicopter, which caused it to spiral out of control and decapitate Vic Morrow and the two children. The fucking helicopter landed on them. And you could see this in many fucking angles. On YouTube, just type in Twilight Zone helicopter accident, you find the footage. And the worst thing is, the footage somehow got into somebody's hands to be put in this series of VHS tapes called The Faces of Death. You thought the internet was fucked up. Let me tell you something. Faces of Death were a series of videos showing the most gruesome fucking shit that you'll ever fucking seen. And you buy these tapes back then. People sold these fucking tapes. They showed massacres, they showed all sorts of shit, and the Twilight Zone accident was part of those series of videos in, I think, the 4th tape of the series. The footage of the accident was shown in court multiple times. Somehow it got leaked, and somebody managed to grab the footage and then distribute it in these Faces of Death videos. It's fucking crazy shit. And the accident happened in 1982. And basically, the court case did not happen until 1986 to 1987. Long story short, John Landis, among the producer of the movie and a few other people, were acquitted of all charges. And I might as well bring up Vic Morrow's fucking funeral, because this gets pretty more fucked up. This is from Dick Peabody, who talks about this, and I'm going to fucking read it to you. So, I'm not going to go word for word on this, alright? I'm going to occasionally say fuck. I mean, at one point, he does say shit, but it's censored out, so I'm going to say it anyway, so here we go. John Landis at Vic Morrow's funeral. The next day, Barbara Turner called. She was Vic's first wife and the mother of his two daughters, Carrie and Jennifer, actress Jennifer Jason Leigh. Even though divorced from Vic for 16 years... Give me a fucking sec. Yeah, sorry for the interruption. That was my dad walking into the garage. Yes, I'm filming it. I'm fucking recording this in my garage. Go fuck yourself. Even though divorced from Vic for 16 years, Barbara felt obligated to guide her children, who were in their teens, in arranging Vic's funeral. She asked me to be a pallbearer and to help the girls in any way I could. Carrie and Jennifer wanted Rick, Jason, and myself to give the eulogies. I rode with them to the funeral and sat with them in the section of the chapel reserved for family. Moments after we arrived, an audible shockwave of reaction from Vic's friends and coworkers who come to pay their respects grabbed my attention. A thin, bearded man was coming down the aisle, seemingly unable to walk without assistance. He was supported by a woman and another man, Miss John Landis and George Fosley Jr., the production manager of the Twilight Zone movie. The bearded stagger was Twilight Zone director John Landis. His stooges helped him to the lectern, and he began a rambling eulogy, unplanned, unrequested, and unwanted, and shocking to Vic's family and friends. His mere presence at the funeral was offensive to them. He did this, presumably on the advice of his attorney. The most obnoxious remark he made, amongst many, was that he was, quote, proud to have directed Vic and what Vic himself considered the best performance of his career, unquote. Vic's girlfriend and his ex-wife, Barbara, both said Vic thought the film was a piece of shit, and he was ashamed to be connected with it. John Landis' eulogy sounded more like a promo for the film. The following day, I called the Los Angeles County District Attorney's office and told him I had a tape from my radio show in which Vic expressed his confidence in the combat special effects team. My thought was that having worked for 5 years with pros, he was lulled into a false feeling of security. He had expected the same professionalism on the Twilight Zone set. The DA's office sent out an investigator that afternoon to pick up the tape. Everyone I know who knew Vic hoped Landis and Fosley would get at least a year in the slammer. After all, they were responsible for the deaths of 3 people. They were tried and acquitted of manslaughter, and their careers have escalated since. As hard as I try, I can muster no charity for these butchers. By Dick Peabody. So yeah, there is footage of John Landis at the funeral for Vic Morrow, just going on this whole fucking rambling bullshit about how he had the pleasure of working with Vic Morrow on what he considers one of his best performances of his fucking lifetime. Yeah, that's pretty fucked up. So that happened. Again, he was acquitted of all charges. And I'm going to go into like 2 stories that happened so much longer, but I'm going to go into this detail. Apparently, there's word surfacing around the internet that from one person mentioned that he was going to interview John Landis, and John Landis' assistant told him to not mention the Twilight Zone accident. There's even footage about John Landis being interviewed and about horror films, and the Twilight Zone movie was brought up. He mentioned the accident, and he was fucking... He just looked not unnerved, but basically like not affected at all. Basically, he just talks about it nonchalantly and just moves on. So now it brings me to these 2 stories I heard from, I think it's called the 80s podcast. And the 2 stories were, the first one was on the set of a horror series that John Landis was directing a segment on. And this one guy was reading a book that talked about the whole fucking incident called Outrageous Conduct. And I honestly want to get my hands on that book because that's honestly probably the first book I'm going to read in fucking years. So, anyways, besides that, he was reading the book and he wanted John Landis to notice him reading the book. And John Landis did notice him reading the book. He was walking back and forth right across from him. The guy basically clears his throat and he gets John Landis' attention by saying, "Hey, John Landis, I was wondering if you would sign this book for me." And then John Landis started becoming defensive and basically is like, "Hey, man, you know what you're saying is not right. You don't understand what the shit I'm going through at the moment." The guy just doesn't give a shit. He just is like, "All right, but would you still sign the book?" And John Landis just begins fucking storming off. The second story about this topic is on the premiere of Planet Terror, for the Grindhouse double feature for Quentin Tarantino's Death Proof and Robert Rodriguez's Planet Terror, there was a scene where a helicopter was tilted and its blades sticking out, chasing these group of zombies. You know where this is gonna fucking go. The helicopter began decapitating the group of zombies running away from the helicopter. Everybody in that fucking theater turned and looked at John Landis. Yeah, some crazy fucking shit. Believe me. Fucking believe me. So, this is what the first recording of this filming accidents episode was missing. Actual human talking. Because right now, I was just like fucking mumbling most of the fucking time. So, I must just add some fucks and shits here and there to kind of add a bit of energy to this podcast recording. Because I know you need some of that energy. Especially on a topic like this. So, yeah. So, with the Twilight Zone out of the way, I might as well talk about accidents that happen on Maximum Overdrive. One major accident. Well, I wouldn't say major, but one critical accident and two close calls. The first, I'm going to talk about the lawnmower accident, where a cinematographer, or director of photography, Armando Nanuzzi, lost his fucking eye because of this incident. What happened was they were filming in a residential area for Maximum Overdrive, of course. Pretty much the scene that's supposed to play out is this lawnmower chases this character Deke, who's fucking trying to escape out of the area to look for his dad, who later on gets killed by a fucking truck. And he hides away from this ice cream truck. Okay, bear with me on this one. And then basically, as soon as he gets out of the bushes, this lawnmower begins chasing him. So what happened was that Stephen King wanted to keep the blades on the lawnmower so he can create a sense of fear for the audience. Something lifelike, apparently. So Armando Nanuzzi, who didn't speak a single fucking lick of English, through a translator, asked Stephen King to remove the blades. Stephen King was adamant he did not want to remove the blades. Other crew members asked him, we should remove the blades due to safety concerns. Stephen King insisted on keeping the blades. You know where this is gonna fucking go. Because what happened was, pretty much as far as I know, the lawnmower was remote controlled. As far as I know. The other trucks in the movie, funny enough, they were not remote controlled, as rumored. Apparently they used a fake seat cover and some external controls to drive the trucks to give that sense of ghost trucks. Which is pretty funny because sometimes you occasionally see an arm or a hand through the windows of the truck sometimes, which is pretty fucking funny. But I'm amazed how they achieved that back then in '86. But anyways, so the lawnmower was radio controlled. And here's some context. According to one of the crew members who was at a Q&A very recently, like a month ago, he basically mentioned that the technical crew didn't know what the fuck they were doing. And as well as Stephen King, but I'll get to that later. And I want to note that a lot of the crew members who were, brought on by Dino De Laurentiis' company were all Italians, and they didn't speak a fucking word of English. They had a translator on set, but he didn't do a good job translating most of the fucking time. So, yeah, bad crews and bad production. So the operator of the lawnmower was giving it velocity. They called action. He was giving it velocity. And it was running, but it wasn't fucking moving. So Stephen King ordered more velocity. He gave it more velocity. Still wasn't fucking moving. So finally, after a few more attempts, the fucking thing started going haywire and started gunning towards the fucking camera. And the camera, you picture it like a big fucking film camera on top of some wooden wedges to kind of support it because it's at a very low angle. There was no fucking tripod. It's that low of an angle. And fucking Jesus Christ. The fucking mower was gunning towards the camera and then started chewing up the wooden wedges, and the crew were fucking like trying to move the camera out of the fucking way, and that's when Armando was in like in the direction of where wooden shards were being shot out of the mower and started fucking hitting him in his quote shooting eye, the eye that he used for fucking cinematography. He got hit in the eye, and then basically he started, of course, fucking screaming in pain, and he was later helicopter son of a bitch choppered to the nearest hospital and started recovering for the next week or two. So, and then after recovering, he went back to work on the film. So, pretty much, one of the crew members, by the name of Sylvia, she basically confronted Stephen King. And basically, I might as well just talk about. She basically started confronting Stephen King about what the fuck happened. Basically, what happened. Why she quote said, why you didn't say stop? But he wasn't able to answer. He was fucking shocked. I mean, Jesus, he was fucking petrified. He was terrified. So then, again, Armando went back to work on the film, and after the film was finished and released, he went on and sued Stephen King, Dino De Laurentiis, and a few other people for $18 million, which is later settled out of court. And basically, yeah, that fucking sucked. And so then, yeah, and there are like, as far right now, there are like 2 pictures of Armando with an eye patch during the filming of the film. Yeah, say that 3 times fast. And anyways, yeah. Later on in his life, he got a glass eye and then retired in '98. He still did movies after fucking losing his eye, and then basically retired in '98 and passed away in 2001. I might as well talk about the close calls. The first close call was with the actor John Short, who was playing Curtis in the movie, one of the newlyweds, the husband in the marriage. I don't know why I'm mentioning that. Yeah, who gives a shit? I only, as far as I know, in my group of friends, a handful have seen the movie. You might have seen the fucking movie in a hotel room. Wink, wink. Anyways, so basically, the scene was this rusty ass tow truck basically comes out of hiding and attempts to run over Curtis in the movie. And John Short wanted to do the scene himself. He wanted to fucking do the stunt. Stephen King, of course, without any hesitation, said, "Yeah, go ahead, do it." This was talked about by John Short in the behind the scenes documentary in the Blu-ray. And basically what happened was, so basically, like I mentioned before, they had people in the trucks. They had them behind fake seat covers, and they had external controls. So apparently they had a bar connected to the steering. And all right, they started filming. He jumps out of the way at the right moment. The truck crashes into something, the pole, and then when they cut, everybody was going ape shit, and John Short was trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. The goddamn steering bar on the truck broke. So he nearly got fucking ran over by the truck. And that could have been a lot fucking worse than a director of photography losing his fucking eye. I mean, come on. What's worse? Somebody losing their eye on set, or somebody getting fucking ran over and getting killed by a fucking truck? Which is pretty fucking ironic, because a lot of people get run over by trucks in this movie. By a lot, I mean only like a handful. You can literally count them with just one hand. And anyways, that happened. The second close call was fucking the ice cream truck when it was like being shot and it causes it to flip over on its roof. You see it in the finished film that it's coming towards the fucking camera. Yeah, that wasn't supposed to happen. It was going in towards the camera crew. One of the crew members by the name of Gene Poole got another camera crew out of the way at the camera member or crew member at the out of the way at the last second while that fucking thing was like sliding across. Jesus Christ. Fucking ridiculous. Stephen King was coked out of his fucking mind. He admitted that in an interview. He didn't know what the fuck he was doing, even with some advice from George Romero. And also, according to the translator who was on set, he did not see any cocaine action. He just saw a lot of drinking that happened on set. According to the translator, Stephen King would drink a shit ton of beer each day. Like multiple, you catch him multiple times drinking on each filming day. Which is perfect for chaos that happens in the movie, but not fucking perfect for everything else in the film. Isn't it? So, cocaine, beer, and a fucking shit ton of Italian crew members who didn't speak a word of fucking English. What could go wrong? What could go fucking wrong? Well, anything could go wrong, basically. It doesn't matter if it's either a professional crew or a shitty crew. Most likely, I mean, yeah, a shitty crew would have the most vulnerable for accidents because either they don't know what the fuck they're doing or it was out of their control, basically. So, I might as well just talk about, so this movie was never finished. It was kind of finished as a DVD bonus feature on a fucking. So the man was H.B. Halicki. He created the original Gone in 60 Seconds movie back in 1974, and he did it with money out of his own pocket. He filmed this big ass car chase that went on for almost 30 minutes, and basically he worked on a weekend. Besides a couple close calls, like one of the actors nearly getting fucking ran over by a car. They basically in one scene they set up this roadblock in front of this Mazda dealership. H.B. Halicki was like coming in very fucking fast. The brakes locked up and was sliding like towards the blockade of cars, and the guy stupidly behind the blockade luckily managed to get the fuck out of the way at the last second while he crashed into the blockade, nearly fucking running him over. That was still in the movie. You could see it happening. And so that's some context. He went on to make a couple more films. Like literally 2 more films. And then in 1989, he was filming a sequel for Gone in 60 Seconds. And he started filming this, basically according to his widow. He started deciding to film the big action sequences first before he started filming shit involving the plot. It was supposed to be a heist movie. They had this fucking car that's called the Slicer that would like go under. Imagine that fucking like ramp car in Fast and Furious. Yeah, that's basically it, but it's a fucking pyramid car. It's a fucking pyramid car. Anyways, so what happened was pretty much the truck chase was almost done, basically. The truck basically H.B. Halicki hops on a helicopter in the scene, and the truck just goes by itself and crashes into this water tower. Now, there is speculation that this was not planned, it just fell on its own, but that wouldn't make any fucking sense because they literally filmed it happening. They filmed the water tower with multiple angles falling. So, I'm just gonna basically just make it plain and simple. The call to action, the water tower fell, and that caused a chain reaction. It hit an electrical wire, and it caused one of the wires to like whip out and struck H.B. Halicki, and he was rushed to the hospital, but he later succumbed to his injuries. And then the movie was left unfinished for obvious reasons. Because the fucking director got killed. And obviously his legacy lives on thanks to his widow. I mean, for obvious reasons, money. I mean, she was fighting for rights for his fucking movies for a long fucking time, but anyways, his legacy kind of lives on due to the remake of Gone in 60 Seconds with Nick Cage and Angelina Jolie, sorry. But again, accidents will happen in any way, shape, or form, even through a miscalculation. In 1995, a stunt woman basically noticed that the airbag was not placed right. They told her that it was, and basically she fell and missed the airbag. And this was for the Eddie Murphy movie Vampire in Brooklyn. And the footage does exist, but you can't see it. But there is evidence, because there is a picture that I found on the internet of the mother watching a TV screen, and it's a close-up of the stunt woman falling to her death. A slight miscalculation like that, in any way, shape, or form, during a major stunt, or anything fucking dangerous, remotely dangerous, could lead to very permanent. Shit, I'm trying to sound fucking sad as fuck. Could lead to like a very permanent effect. All right. And it's normally due to shitty production, shitty planning. Like, for instance, back to Dino De Laurentiis, he basically produced a shitty remake of It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, and it's called $1 Million Mystery. And the only reason why he decided to make a movie like this is because, oh, I saw a bunch of people raffling, and the prizes were huge. I must make this into a movie. And what happened was the accident of well-known stuntman Dar Robinson, who was really good on dirt bikes, really good at, he's basically, like, as far as I know, like, pretty good to, like, Kerry Lofton. And pretty much the scene involved dirt bikes, they're racing each other, this and that. Off camera, Dar Robinson lost control of his bike and went off the side of the road, and there was this giant drop. And basically, that was due to a malfunctioning bike, as far as I remember. And speaking of malfunctioning properties, in 1980, during the filming of Cannonball Run, stuntwoman Heidi Von Beltz was in this Aston Martin doubling for an actress, I forgot her name. And basically, the scene was the Aston Martin weaving in and out through opposite traffic. In the finished film, it looks like nothing remotely happened. No evidence of anything going wrong. But it did. Unfortunately, I couldn't find footage of it, but there are screenshots of the Aston Martin crashing head-on with a fucking van. And because of this accident, it permanently crippled the stunt woman. And she sued and she won, but she's then lived a hard life and basically only survived by her family, who was her sister. She basically died many years later, but the reason why this accident happened is because the Aston Martin was in fucking dire need of repair. The brakes were shitty, the steering was not remotely fucking functional enough to fucking weave in and out of traffic. This was brought up, but they went on filming anyway, and because of this, as well as other accidents throughout the years, they started enforcing more and more safety. Because back to the shooting, the accidental shooting, in 1993, Brandon Lee was shot by a prop gun. Apparently there was a dummy round in the chamber. And he was shot in the abdomen. And basically, well, he was rushed to the hospital and later on died, succumbing to his wound. And of course, you will hear about that whenever the Alec Baldwin shooting is mentioned. And speaking of prop guns fucking killing people, by the man of Aaron Hexum in the early 80s, 1984, he was doing this series called Cover Up. Between a take, he was for some fucking reason doing Russian roulette with a fucking prop gun. He fucking pulled the trigger and that blast caused parts of his skull to shatter and go into his brain. He was rushed to the hospital, to the Beverly Hills Medical Center, and then he was pronounced brain dead. And that's just one of the dumbest fucking things I ever came across, to be honest, because why the fuck would you even take a chance like that? But it happened, and it happened, so what the fuck can you do about it now? Let's see. A lot of shit like this is due to poor production management, mainly because it's either it doesn't matter if like it's a small budget or a high budget. There's got to be a lot of like thought process going into this shit. I mean, and I don't mean shit like, oh, your actor's gonna fucking play Russian roulette with a goddamn blank gun, but basically like into like stunts. Precision is important for stunts like this. Anything could fucking go wrong. Nothing goes according to plan in stunts, but it has to have like an emergency like alternative, because it's important to get shit done right, especially for stunts. For Steven Spielberg's first fucking movie, apparently, Duel, which one I fucking appreciate the shit out of, even as a kid, because, you know, of course, it involved trucks. Just one, but, you know, it's a good movie. I recommend it. But, I mean, I would recommend it, but a lot of people, I mean, I doubt my friends will ever watch it, because, to be honest, I know in their eyes they're going to see this boring as shit, but it has its good moments. But anyways, the scene involved Dennis Weaver, no stunt guy, running out of the phone booth while this fucking truck, driven by Kerry Lofton, a very good stuntman, crashing down, and, like, you know, Dennis Weaver leaping out at the last very moment before the truck, like, barrels down and smashes through the phone booth. That was done without a stuntman in the phone booth. That was all Dennis Weaver. And they rehearsed it multiple fucking times to make sure nothing goes wrong. And if something did go wrong, off camera there were these flags scattered around the area. So if Dennis Weaver didn't leave by the time the grill of the truck was meeting the phone booth, Kerry Lofton would abort and follow the flags, you know, so fucking Dennis Weaver wouldn't get run over by this big ass fucking tanker truck. And it's always important to plan shit out, even if you know it's not gonna go according to plan. But it's always gonna have, like, in case you always gotta have the plan, and then in case something goes wrong, you always gotta carefully plan shit out. I'm just going on a whole fucking tangent right now. I'm sorry, but shit will go wrong for like for like irresponsible reasons. For the filming of The Wraith, they had too many crew members on this camera truck, and they were filming the racing scenes. And basically, they're weaving in and out of these roads in the valleys, and the truck eventually flipped over, and it managed to only kill one crew member by the name of Bruce Ingram. And the film was dedicated to his memory in the end of the credits. And then a similar thing happened years prior to a crew member by the name of Rodney Mitchell. I hope I didn't get that wrong. Pretty much they were rehearsing a chase scene. This is a rehearsal, and the truck flipped over and it killed Rodney Mitchell during a fucking rehearsal. So basically, what I'm trying to say, after like going on this whole fucking tangent about proper planning and proper rehearsing, is that fuck my life. it's very important to learn from mistakes because, of course, trying to come up with something like, oh, it's always important to like, oh, let's do this shit. It's always important to learn from mistakes because, of course, that's saying if you don't learn from your mistakes, you're doomed to repeat it. And also, it's important to, of course, notice a red flag of something bound to go wrong because apparently I forgot to mention this. Days prior, before Alec Baldwin killed the cinematographer, the gun went off 2 times. It was a fucking misfire. And yet they just went on with using the same fucking gun. It's important to catch on to bad signs that could lead to something a lot fucking worse. And they just completely ignore that red flag. Honestly, I'm just gonna just make it short and simple. It basically varies. It varies on what you're filming. It varies on who you have, and basically it varies on the majority of different properties. Your equipment, your vehicles, your crew, the fucking locations you're at, the environment you're dealing with. It fucking varies. And I'm always gonna say this shit over and over again. For any fucking topic, it fucking varies. And just going through this whole fucking rabbit hole, even as a young fucking kid, there's a lot of shit that you fucking hear about and read about, and you're just like, Jesus fucking Christ, what the fuck happened? Anyways, that's pretty much it for this episode. I don't want to drag it any longer than I usually do. And I know this has been a fucking pretty depressing episode, but honestly, I just honestly don't care. I doubt anybody's gonna listen to this fucking shit. But you know what? If you actually do and you made it to this end, I appreciate you. I actually genuinely appreciate you. Sorry, I had a stroke. I genuinely appreciate that because right now I want to do something productive, and this is the least I can fucking do. So yeah, thank you for listening or watching or whatever, and for staring at my ugly fucking face while holding a fucking Pepsi can. I appreciate you listening to this, and I want you guys to have a good night. So, thank you.